good. How are you?
Good.
Hello.
Hey.
Testing, yeah.
I'm just seeing my dad, so I'm just going to see it.
Good afternoon, everyone. How we doing? Good? All right. Wow. I'm seeing some seniors, some soon-to-be seniors here that just have to say you've come a long way, guys. You know? Not quite there, though. But we've got a great rising senior class coming up, and I'm really proud of them. And tell you what, Mrs. Garrison has really taken over college counseling information and what parents and students have provided, college counseling office and support we provide to a whole new level. Please give her a hand. So, we can start here, just about listening and also experience this time. Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful for all the parents and students that partner with us through this journey. And some of them have been with us ever since fifth grade. And some of us are just recently joining us. But regardless, this time of life, this season of life is so precious and so meaningful to the rest of their lives. And we know you're speaking into their hearts, and we just ask that you help us to understand your calling for their lives and help us to support them every way we can and partner with your parents. And we thank you for these opportunities. In the son's name we pray. Amen.
Well, thanks so much for being here. We're going to start before we get into all of the school stuff in terms of college and career and all that. Tanya Thompson's going to come up and talk to you about she's the parents of graduating seniors, and she's going to kind of give you that. Do you want the slide? Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome to senior year almost. Assuming everyone's going to pass their finals and get it through junior year. Is that going to happen? Okay, hi, I'm Tanya. You have gotten plenty of emails from me, and if we haven't met face-to-face, please come and meet me tonight. Jill Farrow and I are your grade leaders. We have been since 6th grade, I think. I have. I don't know if she has, but I have. And so it has been our pleasure to work with y'all's class. I'm just going to say Coach Johnson was not lying. We really are the best class, right? And not only do we have the best kids, we really do have the best parents. called the POGS, POGS, Parents of Graduating Seniors. So if you came in at the top or drove by the top and you saw those little senior signs out front, the seniors yesterday, I think yesterday, had an ice cream party, and they got to pick up their yard signs and take them home. The ice cream party was part of what the POGS, the Parents of Graduating Seniors, did for them. So what this is, it's just something a little extra special. The seniors get treats throughout the year. Things like chicken minis one morning, or hot cocoa, or a little Halloween candy basket. Just fun things like that, unexpected. We let them know to come by and pick it up, but they don't always know what it is. And they'll also get their senior sweatshirts and a senior gift at graduation, things like that. All that comes from the money. I asked Lenny if I could talk tonight strictly to say I'm going to be asking you for money. I'm not asking you right now, but I don't want anyone to be caught off guard. If you can't pay the money, that's okay. We'll have ways that you can help. If you say, $100, I can give way more than that, feel free. So either way, we'll find things for you. The first thing I'm going to ask you for, right before school starts, though, is I'm going to ask you for $100, and I'm also going to ask you for a scripture. And those scriptures, if you've ever walked through where the lockers are for high school, there are scriptures that we put on their lockers, and they're there all year long, for as long as the kids can keep them on there. Those scriptures are from their parents. So go ahead and be thinking about what you want yours to be, because it's your little love note to them every morning that you're praying for them, and that you're praying the scripture over them. And you can use the scripture in your senior blessing at the end of the year if you want to. But if you don't give us one, we're going to make one up, and you better hope it's a good one. So. And then we love doing things, but we know that you guys do too. And we are opening this up. If you want to be part of the POGS, please come help us. You can say, hey, I want to do October, and take the whole thing on. Or you can say, hey, I just want to help. I don't want to be in charge, but can I come one day and help hand out the things? You can do that too. There's all kinds of fun, special things that we're going to do for the kids. So, kids, get ready for fun. Okay, the next slide. Rhonda isn't here tonight, but we know that as you're going to see all the things that have been happening for the seniors this year, that you're going to start having questions and wondering how all that happens. Rhonda Hunter is our senior coordinator, FCA representative. Okay, so you might start getting emails from her, and you'll also get emails from Jill and I, but we'll be talking to you about getting your senior picture taken. This is separate. These guys don't get their picture taken with everybody else at school anymore. They will get a special senior portrait done here at school. And then, of course, you'll want to go do your own fancy in the field, cute dress. You'll do that on your own. The yearbook, you can submit those, and the yearbook will have their fancy button-up one from school, and then the one of them holding a guitar that you send in. That will all be in the yearbook. Blessing dinner. Oh, I'm going to mention this really quick. I know I told you the other one. I scared you when I picked up the microphone. May 10th is a big day here. We're having the senior dinner. If you noticed, things changed this year a little bit as we're growing. If you used to be around, if you had a previous senior, the senior dinner with the parents used to be right before the prom, and this was the first year that we separated it from the prom. And so far, everyone's been really glad about that. It was a long, exhausting night. By the time the kids got done with dinner, they were like, we want to go home, and we're like, no, we're going to go dance. So, totally separate now. So we're working on that. We may be reaching out to you for help. We have already reached out to all the junior SALT kids because we need servers. And they're going to dress nice, they're going to wear their black and white, whatever. We'll tell them what to wear. Aprons. We'll teach them how to hold the pitcher. They're going to be great. But we may need some parent help too. So be on the lookout for that. Mark your calendar, May 10th. Big day here at FCA. 8th grade blessing in the morning, senior dinner at night. So we're going to need help on that. And it gives you a sneak peek of what you might get the next year. Graduation, our own Kathy Gardner has volunteered to head up our graduation reception. She's going to need some help with that this year. But Rhonda will be all the communication for those things for us next year. And senior trip, I don't know if you know this, but they all head down to 30A and have a grand old time for everybody else is here taking their exams. And the seniors are off having fun together in Florida. So save up, kids. Save up because you got to help pay for your senior trip. But that's why you sell pizza and all that stuff. So selling pizza, all the things that the seniors do, go toward that trip. Working at the 8th grade banquet, the seniors do that. They make money from that. So just know there's so much coming up. If I'm talking too fast and you're like, what did she just say? Find me afterwards. I'll be glad to talk to you. But don't worry, there'll be plenty of email communications. Last thing, what was this?
Left for next year, where we're talking about scheduling, things like if they haven't done the speech class or the personal finance or kind of what's coming up. So we'll see the Tennessee requirements, the FCA requirements, just in case you need to verify courses to make sure that you've met your requirements for that. The next slide talks about the NCAA requirements. So if I have any students that want to play in college at any level, this is D1, but it applies for D2, D3, and NAIA kind of have different requirements, but it's basically your NCAA requirements across the board. The good thing is we already do all of this here at SEA. So because we have religion courses, it qualifies for those additional courses, and we require 3 years of science. And so that additional course that you see on the fourth book, that already meets that. So there's nothing extra that you need if you have a student that's interested in playing college athletics, that wants to do athletics in college. You won't have to double check things. Here at FCA, we meet all the requirements for that naturally. So that's kind of a really good thing for us. All right, so senior registration. I'm going to call Mrs. Radville up here, and she's going to go over a few things for you for next year.
We are in the middle of getting ready to start a transition. Mr. Shipman is going to become what we're going to call the academic registrar. So he is going to become your point person for a lot of this academic course scheduling, classes, making sure all the requirements are met for graduation, switching from one class to another, that sort of thing. But he is still teaching right now, so we're going to let him finish out his teaching, and then we're going to start that transition the end of May, June, and July. So for now, you'll hear from both of us for a while. So he kind of gets his head wrapped around how everything's going to work and that sort of thing. But we'll walk together through what your kids need to graduate, what requirements they still have, and that sort of thing. We are going to try something different this year and send you out a Google form for you to fill out at the end of probably May. You can look for that. It'll just be some of your course options and course requests that you might want. Now, obviously, some of your kids are going to need certain classes to graduate. So they're not going to have a ton of choices, but they may have a few choices in which AP class they want to take, or if they'd like to take honors, and that sort of thing. So look for that, and then we will try to do the big puzzle of trying to get everybody where they need to be, which is always fun. So, okay. The next slide, let me just real quick talk about valedictorian and salutatorian. They are our top 2 students in our class. It's based on your GPA. We do not rank at SDA, so when you start filling out college applications and they say what class rank are you, you choose do not rank. But we do rank for this purpose only. So only the top 2 students in our class get ranked. It's your total GPA, including your transfer, not your transfer credits, excuse me, including your dual enrollment credits, or if you're taking other college classes elsewhere, I guess those would be dual enrollment. So those do count towards that. So if you transferred in, your transfer grades do not count in that. So you have to have been here 2 years. So all of you guys will qualify for it would have to be at least your junior and senior year. We do also do what we call cum laude society, and that is just honors that are read to you at graduation. At the end, when your name is called at graduation, those are the honors. So you can see here the GPA points for that. We have cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. And then also we acknowledge a community service distinction, which is students who've earned more than 25 hours in their student year. So those are things they could share on applications or scholarships. Unfortunately, the cum laude society is based on your grades at, your grades for first semester or your senior year, so that wouldn't really be announced until later in your senior year. Okay, honors courses. Y'all know this, you've been here, but just wanted to clarify, honors are available for most of your classes, English, science, history, and math, so the basic core classes. You get an additional 0.5 GPA point, so if you earn an A, which is usually 4.0, you get a 4.5 for that class. And you get in those classes based on teacher recommendations and your previous year of grades. So if you've got a C in the class, we're not going to ask you to do an honors class, and we'll let you do an honors class for that. We would rather you do better in your regular class before we get honors. AP, which some of your students have done so far, some of them have not. But AP courses are a standardized curriculum dictated by the College Board. So the College Board does SAT, PSAT, they do AP, they also do CLEP exams. If you're interested in that, we could talk about that. Those are kind of interesting. So this is standard curriculum that students all across the country are doing the same thing. You all study the same thing. You all take the same test at the end of the school year. So our students who take AP courses here are required to take the AP exam. It's an additional $100 fee or so, and we offer those classes here on campus. So we're going to have them next week for our students that are taking AP courses. And on those courses, you can earn college credit if you earn a certain score on your AP exam. So if you get a 3, a 4, or a 5, it's possible that you will get college credit for that course at the college you attend. Now, it still depends on whether or not the college will accept that course, so that's kind of where it's a little tricky. So you may take an AP pre-calculus course and get to college, and they may go, oh, well, you know, we don't accept AP pre-calculus for your math requirement, we still need to take college algebra. So, but those are there. The ones that we offer are, we started AP pre-calculus this year. This was a new course to the AP courses and new to us as well. AP College, AP Calculus, AB. So for those of you who know calculus, there's an AB and there's a BC. So this is the AB one, which I guess is the easier one of the two. And then there's statistics. And then next year we're going to be adding an AP European History. I cannot promise that AP European History will work with senior schedules, but if it does and students want to take it, I'm all for that, but I can't guarantee right now that it works in their schedules. The next one is dual enrollment, and some of your students are doing this and some are not, and I want to share with you what this is, because this to me is a cool option that your students have here in the state of Tennessee. So as a dual enrollment student, you're enrolled in both a college course and a high school course at the same time. You are earning credit for both places. So you can take the college course, Composition 101, and you get college credit for that course, and you get high school credit for that course. The state will pay for you to take 5 of them, and the cost is pretty cheap. It's about $400, $500 for that, but the state will pay the college for that. So there's 2 different ways to do that. We have some courses that are taught here on campus. We teach Composition 101 and Composition 102. Mr. Stanley teaches it. He is an adjunct professor with Welch College. So for our honors students as seniors, that is the honors class you can take, is dual enrollment English. You don't have to do anything different but go to your class every single day, and Mr. Stanley teaches it. Your grades get submitted to Welch College, which is a Christian college in Gallatin, and you come away with 6 college credit hours in English. The only thing you have to do is fill out an application for the dual enrollment grant, and it's pretty simple. I think it's basic, date of birth and social security number, stuff like that. And then they worry about paying Welch, so they pay Mr. Stanley, all that. They do all of that. All you can do is sign up. The other class that we offer on campus right now is Spanish. Essentially, our Spanish reading course called, the college calls it Beginning Spanish and Intermediate Spanish. So you can earn 6 college credits in Spanish as well. So you get 10 classes here at FCA and walk away with 12 credit hours of college courses that you've done nothing for but take the class here. So that's an option if you want to do those. The other really cool thing is that most colleges in the area offer online dual enrollment courses. Some of them offer in person too. If you want to go to Columbia State and take an in-person class, every Monday night from 6 to 8 o'clock at night, you can do that. Those are there. But you can also take them online. So if there are courses that you want to take, you can take those online. You can do, if you don't want to do Spanish, that's not your thing. You really want to do like Intro to Business, I can get you a college that'll have that Intro to Business course. You can kind of look at dual enrollment classes 2 ways. You can look at them as, what can I do to get a semester of college out of the way, right? I can earn 12 credit hours, or 15 credit hours now. What can I do to do that? So what core requirements can I take? Or you can look at it and say, I might really be interested in psychology, but I don't know. So let me take an intro to psychology course, see what I think about that, and that might kind of give me some guidance as to whether or not I want to study that at college. So those are kind of the two options. There are courses. One college we use pretty regularly is Ryan College. It's a Christian college in Jackson, Tennessee. They have kind of a pretty well set up program. We've had students this year do MTSU, so Calvin has done that. His parents can speak to that. Columbia State, ECSU, Nashville State, all the kind of, especially the two-year colleges, but even Lipscomb, some of these colleges, they offer online programs for you to do. So it's kind of a cool way to get some credit hours, get a semester of college paid for, and maybe it'll allow you a little bit more flexibility in college. Maybe you won't graduate early, but maybe you could study abroad, or maybe you could do something like that because you have that. They've already all taken that, so they won't fight it. So the tricky thing, so you get an extra grade point for this, one whole grade point. Same with AP. You get an A in an AP class, you earn a 5.0 on your transcript. With the dual enrollment class, it's the same thing. You get an A in a dual enrollment class, and you get a 5.0. The difference between dual enrollment and AP is the grades you earn in the college class is the grade that you transfer over to the college. So you can get a C in the class, and you can still transfer that grade into a college. If you get a 1 on your AP test, you don't get any college credit for that. So the AP test is solely depending on the test. So if you wake up with a migraine or a fever, like I had a kid a couple years ago left after 30 minutes of the test because he had a fever and couldn't function. So he didn't get any credit for that class because college credit because he couldn't do it. Dual enrollment classes give you a little bit more flexibility in that. The only tricky thing about dual enrollment classes, or the two tricky things are, the college that you go to may not accept it. And they may say, that's great you took U.S. History, but I'm not going to accept that course because it doesn't meet our requirements. So that's kind of hard to know. If you know where you might want to go, you can always submit that class to that college and say, hey, I'm looking at this dual enrollment class, will you take this? We've had parents that have done that, and the college has said no, so we said, okay, let's look for a different dual enrollment class that will be taken by that college. And then the other thing is whenever you go to college or you apply to grad school or you transfer college, you're going to always have to get that transcript from the college that you attended. So if you you take the class here in Mr. Singley, you get a Welch College composition credit, you're going to have Welch send that transcript to UT when you go there. And then if you want to go to Vanderbilt for grad school, you're going to have them send it to Vanderbilt as well. So it's keeping up with that. It's not hard. It's just a little more legwork to do. Okay. Is that it? Okay.
One of the questions I get a lot is, should we be taking dual enrollment or AP, right? In that aspect and what that looks like on applications. So this is kind of how it works. She's correct that the dual enrollment often transfers easier and to more colleges in terms of your basic English class should work at almost every college. Some of the super high-end elite colleges, it may not, and they may require you to take whatever is at that school. But for the most part, a lot of your basic dual enrollments will transfer. AP classes, as she mentioned, a 3 will be accepted depending on the subject at some colleges, a 4, probably most colleges, a 5, the majority of colleges, but it depends on the school. So that's just hit or miss. And the tests are hard. I don't know if anyone's taken one yet, huh? No, I don't think so. So they're tough. So, but the other part of it is, and we'll talk a little bit about this when we get to applications, but colleges are looking for a well-rounded student, and AP is part of that. So if they're looking at an application and they have a student side to side, the student has taken AP courses, they're thinking that student has challenged themselves tremendously, and this student only has, let's say, dual enrollment. That AP student is going to have a little bit of a potential, not definitely, but may have an advantage because that AP still holds a lot of power in that way. So my advice to students is always just to kind of do a combination, thinking about what subject they're really good at and take that for AP. So if you're a really strong English student, then do your English APs and maybe take the math if it's not your strength in dual enrollment so that kind of transfers. Does that make sense? Okay, so the balance is kind of good. If you're not overly concerned about kind of the overall look for your application-wise, then you'll be fine with dual enrollment. But if you're looking to get into some of the schools that are more selective, it is going to be important for you to have AP on your transcript. They're going to want to see that you've taken some of those courses. Does So I can always, talk through it with anybody after if need be.
I just wanted to mention too the courses that most of our seniors will take next year. So everyone should still have an English requirement that they need to take. Everyone should still have a math requirement that they need to take. Most people will need civics, which is a semester, and economics, which is a semester to take. We require students to take world cultures, which is our Bible class. That would be one. And then personal finance students have not taken yet either, most students. So we have paired personal finance with a course called Personal and Professional Development, which is an amazing course. She didn't talk about. But those are the kind of the basic classes that most of your students will need. I know we've done a few things differently with a few students, but just in general, we're thinking you'll have those kind of four core classes: finance, personal development, and yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to head over to the college and career side of things. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as I can. There's a lot of information. And the reason for that being is I want you to be fully informed about what's to come. If there are any questions after, I'm here. You'll see kind of the communication piece of it after. But I really wanted to give you a really good overview about what we're going to be looking at, what we're going to be doing with the kids next year, and hopefully answer most of the questions you might have going into senior year. There's going to be a lot of communication over the next, I guess, 12 months essentially, right, until the kids graduate. So you're going to see all of this again. It's going to go by pretty quick when I go through stuff. You're going to see a lot of this again, and it's going to be in tutorials. There's going to be links for you. I'm going to over-communicate, so you'll know exactly what to do when it comes time for all the financial aid and all of that. So this is kind of an overview, but I'll go over a lot of the basic stuff that you're going to run into maybe until we see and meet with the kids in August once school starts. So we know here at FCA that God calls our students to a lot of different paths, and we are fully supportive of all of those paths. And we know that they all have their strengths, and we want them to pursue the avenues that go with their strengths. So this is just kind of some of the pathways we see. We really try throughout the year to present opportunities, information for whatever pathway that they're going to be on. So that's our goal as we go through this journey with them in senior year. Okay, so starting with looking at the military, workforce, and trade schools. Obviously, a lot of what we talk about tonight is going to be going into a lot of the college stuff. So I wanted to just kind of let you know what we're doing in these areas. We have a lot of students that choose a path other than college. And we've really been working hard here at FCA to give them the information if that's something that they want to do and present a lot of different paths they can pursue that isn't college. So you'll see a couple of the tools we use at here. One of them, our new college program that we use, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is called SCORE, and we have a career assessment on there. So the juniors next year, the seniors will do that at the very beginning of the year. So that'll give them a really good picture of kind of what some of their strengths are, and they'll see that, and that might just maybe give them a path they may want to explore if that's the case. We have the personal and professional development class that Stephanie just talked about, which is an awesome class, and that's where they're going to see a lot of exploration when it comes to career. So in the class, they're going to have resume building, interviewing skills. She brings in speakers from so many different areas. It's going to be people in trades, people in business, and the medical field, and she brings them in from all over, military, they're from all over. So they're going to be exposed to all of that, and they're going to see all of that throughout that class. The other thing that we do is we have our career fair. So we have our first career fair this year. You guys, career fair? Yeah. It was good. Lots of different things there, right? We had military, we had police, we had trade schools, we had all kinds of, so we're going to get that in the spring. We'll do that again, so they'll be able to ask questions and network with different people there. And then we're going to have different trade schools come throughout the year. So this year, we always have the college visits come through, but we're also going to incorporate some of the trade school visits as well, so that they can go and ask their questions and see the different opportunities, just in case it's a path they may want to take, whether it's now or in the future. Okay, so I'm going to move on to our college program. So this is super exciting. This junior class is going to be the first class to go through this program from the start to finish. So we got this program loaded up in January. So the seniors this year have used it a little bit, but the juniors are going to get it from the very beginning. So all of your students are already plugged in. They've already got accounts. They've already loaded all their info. They've been exploring it a little bit with me over the last few months. It's pronounced SCORE, rhymes with more. Essentially, this is a
beneficial tool for them, and it's going to allow us to integrate everything that they do, and we can work with them. So you'll kind of see an idea of what they do. It allows them to create their college list. It allows them to request transcripts through SCORE. So the system we've been using at FCA is they have to fill out a form, it has to go, and then both parents and students aren't sure if the transcript has been sent or not sent, or when it was sent, when colleges are asking. So what's cool about SCORE, and I'll go through that a little bit in just a minute, but we have a system that goes through, so you'll be able to see that as parents, they'll be able to see that as students, which is really cool. So it's just a more efficient process to get all of that done, and it makes it easier for the students as well as us as staff. Teachers are also all a part of it, so the teacher here, you have a SCORE account, we did that at the beginning of the year, or once we got SCORE. And so teacher recommendations will work the same way. So they're able to request that through SCORE, and then they're able to get their recommendation. They can use it per subject, or they can use it overall and use it over and over. The kids all know how to do this. So I'm going to show you a lot about SCORE. Parents are just kind of viewing it as the kids go through it, but keep in mind that I'm working directly with all of your students, and they know what they're doing in SCORE. We worked with them at a time. They've got tutorials on how to do everything, and so they're going to be doing a lot of work on that. I just wanted to kind of show you the front end of what it looks like. So how many parents here have joined SCORE already? Oh, that's awesome. So we have good parents. If you haven't, have your child invite you to join, because one of the really cool things is they can submit applications through SCORE as well. So as they submit applications, transcripts, letter of recommendations, as a parent, you at least can keep up to date on what they're doing, which is super, super cool. And that allows you don't have to kind of ask so many questions where you can be like, okay, they've got it handled, they're good. They've already requested it, they've moved it, they've done what they need to do. But it also allows you to suggest colleges to your students. So if you want to look through, because you're looking to find colleges for their list, you can't change their list, so the kids don't have to worry about that. You can't move things and say, no, I don't want them going there, but you can definitely say, hey, take a look at this college if you haven't looked at it before. If it's one that you might be interested in, that you can consider. So, but they'll ultimately create their final list. So it's a great parent tool as well, and I think you'll really like going in there and kind of researching and seeing everything. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So this is what the student view is. And you can't really see what's here, but they'll have where they can have all their basic information. There's a place to put in their activities and achievements, so that as teachers, when we're doing letters of recommendation, we can see if they're a member of SALT. We can see if they're on the soccer team. We can see all of that. And that kind of helps when we're putting together a really good recommendation for them in that way. So you'll see the invite parents on this page for them. And then the tools and here is what they're going to use for that college list. So you'll see a little bit of that in a minute. All right, so talking about college lists. And again, I've gone over this with your students. But one of the big things that you can do this summer, and as you're going into the senior year, is talk about what that college list looks like for your student. And they're going to get an email with a spreadsheet that kind of gives them like a template they can use. I told them they're welcome to use it or not. It's just to give them a tool to use if they're interested. But basically, you're looking at these things when you're talking about how to find your fit, right? And it's going to look different for everybody. And as parents, some of these pieces are going to be for you, such as the financial fit, right? So the academic fit, same thing, leading them to kind of see what major and that kind of stuff. And then there's all these other things that they want to think about when they go through in terms of size and environment, whether they want that Christian college or not when they're thinking about their faith. What kind of extracurriculars they have. We talked about how many of the students want to go to those big football games every weekend, right? Is that a must or is that just a want for them? And talking about how that looks. And then their post-college goals. One of the things that a lot of our nursing students look at when they are considering colleges is their admittance to a straight into nursing school from the college. So you don't have to then apply separately. And that's a huge advantage. Can you get your MBA in a 3+1 program, right? Rather than having to go to grad school after or a 4+1 program. So we'll kind of work with them in thinking about what that means for academic. When we're looking at financial fit, one of the really cool things as parents you can do is when you go onto the college websites, there's what's called a net price calculator. So when you go into the financial aid side of things, you'll see it's usually named something like that. We'll say net price calculator. You can put in as much or as little information as you want, your kids' GPA or ACT scores. You can put in your financial information. It'll give you an estimate of what the college is going to cost. once their scholarships have been given for their GPA, once considering potential federal grants that come through. And that's a really good indicator of the final cost for you before loans and before everything else. And that's going to be on every college website that you can find. They all have that included somewhere. So that's kind of neat. So this is what we're going to be talking. I met with the kids today and yesterday, and we talked a lot about making that college list and finding that fit.
Okay, so how do they get their college list created? So SCORE is a great tool for this. So as you can see, I just put UTK up there, and the kids know this. But when you go in, you can pick the school that you want. You search for the school you want. So much information on those schools right there at your fingertips in SCORE. So it's going to be the size, it's going to have tuition, it's going to have extracurriculars, it's going to have the layout of diversity, it's going to have layout for anything you can think of. Sports, how many sports they have, girls, boys, the ratio of everything you can think of. Teacher to student ratio. It has everything on SCORE. It's kind of like your one-stop shop. So you can do all of your basic research on SCORE. There's also a tool that they use to search for colleges. So they can pick the states they wanted, the size they wanted, and it gives you suggestions. And they've done that already as well. So it's just a really cool site to find online. My one recommendation is when you're doing tuition, the tuition on SCORE isn't always updated to match the new tuition for the new year. So you may want to just double check the price. It'll be close, but it may not be super accurate. So just make sure you're going on the main website at some point and check costs, so that's something to consider in there. Okay, so for their list, this is what their main page for colleges looks like. So you'll see the 3 columns. Following is a lot of what we've done for now, where it's a school that I'm kind of interested in. Once they start applying for colleges, they'll move it over to the applying side. And that middle column, that gives me an idea that that's where they're applying to. So if maybe I want to schedule a college visit, I get my college person to come in. If I see something about a special scholarship that comes through, I can let them know. There's all kinds of advantages to that. Once they fully send in their application, they're going to move it to apply. At that point, we know to send their transcript. I'll keep an eye on what other documents they need to send in if they haven't yet. So this is the system that they're going to go through. Again, they know all this. We've been through all this, but I wanted you guys to see kind of what that looks like and what we're doing on this end for them. So it's a really cool process. I think it's going to make things a lot easier than it has been in the past. Okay, so college application. So why are we doing all this now? So applications will open in the fall. The Common App that we're going to talk about in a minute opens August 1st. We aren't even in school then. So I'm not going to see the kids to meet with them and talk about a lot of this until after applications open and potentially your kids have started applying. So we're going over a lot of this now because I just want you to know what's to come when you start to see some of this if you're first-time parents and you're not super familiar with this. So when they do any kind of application, whether it's the Common App or they're on the college website, if they're asking for a counselor, that's going to be me. So they're always going to put my name and my email address, and they all know that by now. They know my email address. So that's what it's going to go. We talked about the transcripts. We're going to go through SCORE. I just wanted the kids to know this, but I wanted you to know the transcripts are only going to reflect their grades through junior year. So we talked a little bit at the beginning of the year that this year was really big because it gave them a chance to push up their GPA. And then this is kind of it. So senior year does matter. They will check your transcripts at the end of the year. But to apply, they're only going to look at the junior year. Because when you submit the application, that's when they look at the transcript, and that's how they decide if you're going to be admitted or not. Okay? So they're not going to wait to send that in. Then you've got letter recommendations. You're going to have the SCORE for teachers. Sometimes they will ask for outside recommendations. So it might be a coach or a youth leader or a pastor or whatever. It might be a boss. In that case, they're going to send those separate through either the Common App or the college website. And then they'll kind of give the process online of how to do that. The last thing to remind your students is that they have to use their personal email address and not their FCA email address. When they leave school, their FCA email address disappears, and then if the college is still trying to reach them for whatever reason, they won't get any communication after that. So we want to make sure that they use a personal email address for that. Okay, so the types of applications. So this is something that, if you're a first-time parent, you may not know that there's a lot of different ways to apply. So you've got your college websites, and that's kind of standard. You go on and it says apply now, and you're going to create an account, and the kids will go through that. One thing to keep in mind is that in Tennessee, and I don't have the date yet, so I couldn't put that there because they haven't announced it yet, but we have in September, there's a free week of applications for all Tennessee schools, or the majority of them.
And you can say that you're applying to Tennessee schools, you can say 30 to 40 bucks for every application. So I'll announce that as soon as we get it, and I'll send that out in an email. But that's a really good week to take advantage. You know, I talked to the students today about even if they want to go out of state, and none of them want to stay, they don't want to stay in state, they know they don't. We're talking about using that as a safety school. If it's a free application, why not? Pick a school in Tennessee that they maybe would be interested in case something doesn't work out of state, or circumstances change and they want to stay in state, right? Because they're going to have some different advantages. So if it's free, why not? It doesn't hurt anything. They can apply. They'll have that as a safety school just in case. And it's kind of, and there's no pressure there just in case something happens. The Common App is what a lot of students use. Essentially, it is one application. You fill out all your basic stuff, your grades, your personal information, your GPA, your ACT scores, you do an essay, all of this stuff, and then you can apply to multiple schools after just that one application. So Common App does kind of all the work for you after you've done it once. This is really good to use if more than one of your schools is on the Common App. Not every school is on the Common App. So if a student is applying to, let's say, 3 schools, 2 of the schools are not on the Common App and 1 is, it won't be to their advantage to use a Common App because it's a lot more information than it would be on the college application, and then they're only applying it to 1 school. So then they would just use the regular college applications, and it works exactly the same no matter what you use. They don't honor applications first from Common App or first from their own site. It all works completely the same. So it's worth looking at that and kind of considering. The other thing I like to bring up is that sometimes, so the Common App, the essays are already out. They're using the same ones as last year. Sometimes the essays on the college website directly are a little bit different, and it might be one that you like better. The prompt might be a prompt that you like better. So it's always good to just look at what's on the regular website for the college, just to make sure that there's no differences, and you're comfortable doing the Common App for that school. Because the prompts could be a little bit different. And the Common App will walk you through doing an essay, doing recommendations. They kind of highlight all that for you. So it's a super cool site. It's free to join, free to you. I'm sure the Common App gets something for using it through colleges, but it's totally free to students. And I'll have them, if they haven't created an account, we'll talk about that when they come to me in August, and we'll kind of walk them through that if need be. But it does open up August 1st. So obviously they can apply to score. So we talked about that. And then the Coalition app is one that I just wanted to include. I don't know that we had anybody use that this year. It works this year. They just merged. So this year it works with SCORE, so we don't have to worry about it all this year anyway. But it's just another way to apply. It's not as many schools. It's for a lot of private schools that just, for whatever reason, they tend to use that. I don't know that there's a need to really introduce them to that. We just don't really need to use them a lot. So, okay, so the academic content market. This is something that is super cool that I don't know that many people know about. So essentially, being that we are in Tennessee, and we don't have every major that's available to every state, there is a program that's called the Academic Common Market, where essentially if your major isn't available at any state school in Tennessee, you can go to an out-of-state school for the same in-state tuition price at wherever that school is. So for example, if you're interested in marine biology, we don't have that here in Tennessee because there's nowhere to do that research. So there are Florida schools that they partner with, the Academic Common Market partners with, where you can go and you will pay in-state tuition to these schools instead of out-of-state tuition. Now you have to stay there all 4 years. You have to commit, right, to Berkeley. If you leave, then you obviously lose that scholarship. If you change majors, you lose that in-state tuition. But if you are dead set on that and you're interested in it, you go. Petroleum engineering is another one that if you want that, they allow that program. So on the website, there is a link where you click and it shows you all the different programs and all the different majors. There's theater majors, there's fine arts degrees. You'd be surprised at how many schools. So if there's a school you're really interested in, it's super expensive, and it's basically kind of like the South schools in our area. So it's going to be Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Georgia. There's a bunch of schools like that. So you'll see, it'll tell you all the parameters there. But it's really cool. There's a school that you're super interested in, and you're like, that's way too expensive. And if you're a little flexible in your major, you can find something that fits, this might be an option for you. and you get the in-state tuition, even though you're out of state. So there's a regular application, and then there's a different application process. If your student comes across this, and it's something that you're interested in, I can help with that if need be. But it's a really cool program to at least look into. Okay, different types of admission. As you go through, whether it's in SCORE or Common App, they're going to give you choices. You're going to have choices of early decision, early action, regular decision, and rolling decision. So early decision is binding. It's the only one that's binding. What does that mean? Basically, you are saying that this is 100% the school that if you get into, you are going to go no matter what. So if there is one school that you have always wanted to go to, you visited it, you loved it, it's your dream school, no question about it, if you get in, you're going. You can do early decision. It is binding. So the question you get a lot is, what happens if I change my mind? What does binding mean? Is it legally binding? No. It's not legally. You can't, they're not going to sue you or anything of that nature. But there can be some academic repercussions. Like if there's another school that they associate with or that they talk to and you've done early decision, that could affect your application in a different school because schools communicate with each other. So it's not smart to do that unless you're 100% sure if you get in, you want to go to that school. You can still apply for other schools at the same time. You just aren't going to do early decision for any other schools. You'll do the other, you do early action or regular. But if there's only early decision, you can only pick one school. What's the advantage? Why do that? So an example, Duke University in North Carolina for the class of 2027, they accepted 16.4% of the early decision applicants when they did their registration, where the regular decision round, they only accepted 4.8 students, 4.8%. So that's from 16.4% to 4.8%. So there can be a favorable, more favorable review if you do the early decision. They'll take students that they want people that want to be there, right? So they love that you're that committed to the school. So just something to think about. One of the most common ones is early action. So this is, I really, really want to go here, but I really, really want to go to some other schools too. So early action is not binding. You can do it to multiple schools. You can change your mind. There's nothing crazy about that. But it also can be more favorable. Because again, you're saying that you really want to go there, and they love that you're getting your application in early, and they want to fill those spots early. The earlier they can fill those spots, the better. And they're not waiting to see how many students they're going to have, so that's why early action can be good. You just have to really be on top of your applications, right? So it's gonna start and it's gonna go quick, and so you really just got to be on top of your application when you do that. Regular decision is exactly what it looks like. So it gives you a chance, it's a little bit later in the school year, so it gives you a chance to get like better ACT scores if that's the case, if that's what you're trying to do. Maybe get your GPA up, because it'll go usually by like January. And then rolling decision, that essentially just means that the applications are open all the way through. So they'll go all the way through May 1st when it's decision date, and you can apply anytime during that. So, and that's not every school, but you'll know that when you go to the website, they'll make everything super clear. So this is what you're kind of looking for when you do applications, and they'll ask you, how are you going to apply? All right, your college registration timeline. So I just wanted to give you an idea. I'm going to send this out to all the parents and you can see it. So you'll have this. But I just wanted everybody to see kind of what that looks like when early decision is usually due and when applications go in, when you're going to start applying, that kind of stuff. So transcripts, looking at your GPA and your class rankings. We talked a little bit about the AP and the dual enrollment, how that looks on your applications. So when you're talking about GPA, you have weighted and you have unweighted. The weighted is without, the weighted is with your honors, your dual enrollment, your AP. Unweighted means without. They're going to see both of those on SCORE, and they're going to see both of those. Are they both on regular? Yeah. But they'll see it on SCORE. So if you need to know that when you're applying, they can pull up their SCORE account, and they're going to see both of those. Okay? What's the difference? Obviously, one's on a 5.0 scale, one's on a 4.0 scale. The question I get from students all the time is if they don't say, if they don't ask, if they don't specify, do I do weighted or unweighted, which one do I do? Always do the highest one. So if it doesn't say unweighted, always put your weighted, because you want to look great. They'll figure it out if it's over a 4.0 that it's weighted anyway. But schools will ask. So a lot of schools will do unweighted. Some schools will do weighted. You'll kind of get an idea, and you'll be able to put that. Scholarships work the same way. So they don't, it's with being test optional, we'll talk about it in a second. There's a lot more weight sometimes on the GPA now. since we're doing test optional in a lot of places. So just kind of keep that in mind as you go through what they're asking for with unweighted and weighted. One of the things I wanted to talk about is how they're using the GPA. Obviously, some schools offer a lot more. I think we do a great job with our dual enrollment and what we're offering. I think it's growing a ton. Some schools offer it as early as sophomore year, and there's a ton they can take, so they're coming out with a lot higher GPAs, 4.8 GPAs, that kind of thing. And obviously, we can't do that. So a lot of the schools gone to where they use a weighted GPA, and basically they take their transcript and they choose the basic 4 classes, and that's what they use for your GPA, and they do it unweighted. So UTK is one that uses a weighted, they use the weighted for calculation, they take out all your electives. So that's super interesting. So schools are doing it way different, whereas 5 years ago that was not the case. It was just your GPA, your scores, and that was it. So you'll be able to see when you apply, they'll give you an idea on that page of what it looks like and what they take. They're really looking these days, because of the test optional, at a really comprehensive view. They want to see their kids involved. They want to see what they're involved in. So students can get often discouraged when they say my GPA is not super high. I was told it's okay. Don't even worry about it. If you're involved, if you've got a lot of support on, colleges know that. They're not, or their scores are really low. They're really looking at everything. Some of the schools are even taking half with scores, half without. So you can be in that half without, and if you got a good GPA and you are super involved, and there's a lot of you volunteered, right, all this stuff, I mean, you can easily be above a student that isn't involved at all but has a 4.5. So keep that in mind, that there's always flexibility with that, because things have changed a lot in the last 5 years, especially after COVID. All right, standardized tests. So not our favorite thing. I think a lot of the students took it here at FCA a couple weeks ago. So long tests can be exhausting. Even though a lot of schools are test optional, the problem is that most of the scholarships are not. So they're still largely using it for scholarships. So I do still recommend that all kids take the ACT, just because it is often needed. When we're looking at some of the scholarships that even Tennessee offers, there's some requirements that are built in there as well. So we have the ACT, we have the SAT. Which one do we take? Which one's better? Which ones do schools take? Schools take both, hands down, no matter what. So that's just all across the country. When it comes to which one do you take, it just depends on the child. And you'll see a chart in a minute that's going to talk about the differences. If you did really well in the PSAT, then taking the SAT as an option isn't a bad idea, because that means that you lend to that kind of test and it works for you. ACT tends to be what most students do better on. It's just a more comprehensive test, I think, of what they're taught here in school. The SAT tends to be a little bit harder. The ACT is both digital and paper. The SAT is only digital right now. Here at FCA, we do the digital ACT. We just feel like it's easier, and they're used to learning on their pads and doing all of that, so it just works a little better. So you will, depending on the college, you will have the option of either submitting your test score or not. This is going to depend on your child and the school. So I have a lot of students, and I encourage it, that come to me, this is my ACT score, this is what the school's average is, what do you think, should I send it in or not? There's a lot to look at with that, and sometimes I'll email the administration and ask, this is where my student's score is, do you think we should send this in or should we not? So just keep that in mind, that if it's test optional, if your score is really up high or above the average, it's worth it. If it's kind of borderline or maybe below the average of acceptance, and everything else is super strong, you might want to hold off on that. Okay? So I can always answer any questions when it comes to that. How many times should you test, and how late can you test? The amount of times you should test is up to you. One example I gave to the students today was, if the scholarship limit is you need a 27 to get an extra $4,000 and you've got a 26, that's a pretty good investment for 4 hours of your time, right, to try and get that 27. So you may want to test 3 more times. 9 hours or 10 hours of testing for $4,000, and if that's per year, $16,000 isn't a bad deal. So it's going to depend on you, and that's something that you can decide with your kid. How late can you test? Most of the schools will accept the testing all the way through December. Some of them into February, especially if you want to up your score for a scholarship. For admissions, if you're early decision or early action, that might differ. So you're going to have to just kind of see what the school requires. But you can often resubmit. So it doesn't mean you have to wait till December to apply. you can do your application, they'll use your first score, then you send your next score over and they'll adjust your financial aid for that reason, which is kind of cool. But most schools will do that. This is a chart, just so that you can see, you'll see this when you get it in your email. I just wanted to show you some of the differences. These are the testing dates. We kind of have coming up. We are going to do another FCA ACT test in the in the fall. We haven't picked the date yet, but you'll get that pretty soon. The advantage is, one, it's here at FCA. It's a little bit cheaper, which is good. And they do it during school, so it's not taking up a weekend time. So we'll get that date out. Oh yeah, and the scores for that, they know that, I think most people got it, but the scores from our last agency are out. So it actually comes back pretty quick, which is super cool. So sometimes quicker than the other ones. Okay, financial aid. So I wanted to just go through this quickly. I'm going to send a lot of this out as we get closer to when all of this is due. Because right now, a lot of this is up in the air. But I just wanted you to have an idea of the different things that you're going to see and that you're going to look at, right? Scholarships are going to be merit and need-based. Just kind of depends. You're going to see different grants. You're going to see federal grants. You're going to see school grants. Obviously, scholarships and grants are free money. And then you've got your loans, work study, and that's through the government, and that's going to be loans that you pay back. The work study, the only thing I want to mention about work study is it's not guaranteed. So if you see when you get in that it says you can get work study, that doesn't mean that they have a spot for you. That just means that if you are able to get a job, they'll give you the money for it. So just make sure your students kind of keep that in mind. We talked about the net price calculator. The FAFSA and the CCS profile are how schools are able to know what your financial position is for them to give you money. So we're going to start with the FAFSA. I say that it opens October 1st. Those of you, does anybody have one in college next year? Anybody a senior? Yeah. The FAFSA has been redone. It is very, very crazy right now. So I'd like to think October 1st. That may not be the case. This year it was supposed to be January 1st, and it was actually like April when we got everything. So I don't know, but October 1st in the past is when it opens. I will have all of your students in class register for the FAFSA. Whether or not you decide to do it as a family, that's up to you. I will have them register. It's super, super important. Essentially, that allows you to get aid from the government. Even if you don't qualify and you think, I make too much money, I'm not going to qualify, it's important. When COVID came along, if you had put the FAFSA through, the schools were giving away free money because they had all this extra money the government gave them. It didn't matter what your income level was. So you can't qualify for any of that if you don't do the FAFSA. And you have to do it every year during college as well. So we'll do that from the beginning. You'll get what's called a student aid index number, and that's how they calculate your need. So they'll take the cost of attendance minus the student aid index number, and then that'll be kind of like what you need combined from scholarships, grants, loans, etc. Okay? And again, you'll see all this. You'll get a lot more information on this later. They're going to use your 2023 taxes. So next year, you'll think it's going to be, well, I have my 2024 taxes. They won't use that. They're going to use 2023 is what they'll use. And then it's basically the new system just directly imports it for you. So it actually doesn't take very long to do the FAFSA because they've got a new system in place that will upload everything from the IRS, which is kind of cool. So you can choose to send it to schools. You can pick up to 20 schools. If you all of a sudden decide there's a new school you're interested in, you can go in and add it later. So that's not a big deal. But you can choose up to 20 schools for free to send that out. And then again, regardless of income, the person does the FAFSA. You never know. And it's free. There's no harm. Okay, the CCS profile. A lot of schools actually used this year because the FAFSA was so problematic that they did this. So the school may require, depending on where you're going. The schools around here generally do not, so you may not even see this. But if you go east, some of the schools require it. And essentially, there's a charge to it, as you can see up there, but they waive it if your gross income's under $100,000. It's very similar to the FAFSA in terms of what they're asking, except it gives you non-federal aid. So still institutional aid, but it's non-federal. So basically, they're trying to help you maximize your aid. So the schools will use that for different grants that they're able to give out. You still have to do the FAFSA because they're both separate, different. One's government, one's non-federal. So you can kind of see. And if your school doesn't offer it, you want to know if you need to do it, you can come talk to me, we can kind of look through and see what your situation is, what the advantages are. If you have more than one child in college, there may be an advantage because the FAFSA took that away this year. So the FAFSA no longer considers if you have 2 in college, the CCS profile does. So there's certain circumstances where it might be beneficial. So just something to think about. All right, scholarships. This is just quick. The scholarships you're going to look at, you're going to see this come through as well. A whole bunch of scholarships. I'm going to put them in the newsletter. You're going to see everything. Encourage your children to apply to everything that they see all the time. It almost becomes like a part-time job if they want money for school. Okay? So they'll have lots of resources for that. Here are the Tennessee scholarships. So you'll see this after. I'm going to go over a couple of the main ones. You'll see some other ones on here. The Tennessee Hope Scholarship is the one that you can get for a four-year college. If your GPA is a 3.0 or, not and, but or you have a 21 ACT, you qualify automatically for it only if you fill out the FAFSA. Another good reason to fill out the FAFSA if you decide to go to an in-state school. So you don't have to do any separate application. It automatically applies that to you. And the cool thing about that is it's $4,500 for the first 2 years. This is this year's figures. It might change next year, but it'll go up. It won't go down. And then the third and fourth year, you get $5,700. So that's super cool. That's added on to other scholarships. It's not, you don't have to pick either or. It's just extra money that you get from being an in-state student. So the other two we're going to talk about is the Tennessee Promise and the UT Promise. One thing real quick about the Hope, if your child decides to go out of state, and they don't like it, and they come back, and they want to go in-state, it's good for up to 16 months. So you can still take advantage of Tennessee Hope that next fall, which is super cool, and then use it for the next 3 years. So that's really neat. So that's kind of something to kind of tuck in if you have an out-of-state student. Okay, Tennessee Promise. This one is for 2-year colleges, so for community colleges. Here in Tennessee, they will cover that last dollar amount, which means tuition and fees after everything else you get, any other scholarships you get from the school. Essentially, you go to community college for 2 years for free, which is super, super cool. So for students that maybe want to go for a trade, but they're thinking having an associates in business might help me with the trade that I'm going in, it's free. Why not? Right? It's only going to help. And they can kind of pick and choose any of the community colleges. You do have to apply by November 1st. Obviously, the FAFSA, again, we see that. And there's a mandatory meeting that you have to attend. Community service we take care of. This is another one that I will have every student sign up for in class. After that, they're on their own, and you can decide if it works for your family or not. I say all the time, situations change. Stuff happens. You never know if you end up having to stay close to home, having to stay in school, having to stay, having to change something. And then if you have that community school option, then it really saves you. Once that November 1st deadline passes, you cannot get community college for free after that. They don't make any exceptions. So it's a super, super strict program. So I will have every one of them sign up for that. And then if they attend the meeting after that, totally up to you. The meeting is, I think sometime usually December or January, so that will be on you guys. I'll send lots of reminders, but I do have them all sign up for it, and I encourage them to do that. So you'll see just kind of, the UT Promise is the last thing I'm going to cover with this. Basically, this is kind of cool. If you're going to go to one of the University of Tennessee schools, so Knoxville, Chattanooga, Pulaski, Martin, or Memphis, you get, if your family income's, your adjusted gross income's under $75,000, then you go there for free. Or you get that scholarship. And basically it means after everything else, after the Hope, after the merit scholarships, they cover everything else when it comes to tuition. So that's kind of cool if you fit into that. So something to think about as you're applying and everything at schools. All right, here is your senior year timeline. Kind of hard to read from there, but basically right now, we're looking at exploring colleges. We're going to visit schools this summer when we're in the town that we're going to have fun at the beach or wherever there's a school nearby. We're going to go see. We're going to start doing research on colleges to make our college list. Then we've got applications open on August 1st. So at that point, we can start looking at, do we want to apply early for early acceptance or decision, right? So we want to put in things early so we get preferred housing, whatever it might be for you. Then we go a little bit further down and you'll see it says senioritis. So the students start right? And the studying gets kind of less and less. You still have to finish strong. So I'm gonna say this next year too, but you still gotta finish strong all the way through. And then in May 1st is decision day. They postponed it this year because of the FAFSA, but we will hopefully still do May 1st decision next year. So they'll have pretty much until then to make their final decisions. They usually do it way before then because you'll start getting award letters after that. So I've got a super detailed timeline that we'll be passing out at the end. It's almost like a checklist that you can kind of, and it's going to go month by month. And it'll give you an idea of what to start doing and thinking about as you go through all your months from summer all the way till next May. So that should kind of help in that aspect. Okay, so here's your summer checklist. Visit, research your colleges, start getting the colleges together. Start working on your college essay. We're going to bring somebody in at the beginning of the year to help them with their college essays, just to do some kind of basic prep. But it's a great time to start at least maybe putting together an outline or some ideas, looking at the Common App essays to see what experiences they can pull from and start putting that together. And then you have SCORE. So parents can join, you guys can look at that together. It's super fun to go through and you can start building your college list by using that. So here is your support through the process. So I am super excited with how we're growing this program here, with how our college and career department is growing, and I love it. And I love working with the kids, and it's been a lot of fun just to give you all a lot of resources, and SCORE has been amazing. So you're going to see a monthly college and career newsletter. Is everybody getting that already? You should be getting that. So that's going to continue to come out. We're going to do, I meet with the seniors most Fridays in the fall. So I take over their first period class, which is World Cultures, and I make that my college and career class. So I walk through things with them, so they're going to see me a lot in the fall, and then occasionally once we start getting through applications in the spring. And then I can message through SCORE. We talked about doing some senior lunch panels where we give them lunch and we bring in speakers and talk about stuff. Obviously, I'm available by appointment. That's for students, for parents. I will meet with the students in the fall, but if parents want a meeting, we can absolutely set that up. And then, of course, by email. So I put both emails up there. I will check and answer to both of them. But I'm available for anything and any questions that you might have. Even if it's just suggestions of an additional college you might want to see or some idea that you have. Totally open to anything that you have suggestion-wise and happy to answer any questions you might have. And then this is just a page of resources, so you'll see that going out when you email those links, so you can click on it when I send you out the emails for all of that. So, all right, I was trying to be quick, so we got an hour and 15 minutes left today. So a lot of information I know, but I wanted you to have everything, and then you'll see a lot of more specific information coming through after the fact. So I will close it out here. But I will be around. I'm going to hang out for a little bit after, so if you have any specific questions or just want to come say hi, you can come do that. And thank you for being here. The kids, these boys were teasing, and they were like at the video, what if we're the only ones that are here? I just thought it was kind of like every presenter's night, or something like this, that you get 5 people that show up, right? So, but it would have been awesome. I would have loved it with just you guys too, right? So, but thank you. I really appreciate you being here and giving me time. Woo. Oh, yeah, so one more really cool thing. We are going to do a Christian college fair in the fall. We have 30 to 40 colleges coming, and we're hosting it at FCA, and it's going to be open to the public. So it's a huge deal for us. So that's super, super cool. So look for information on that. So we're super excited about that and how that works. So what? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate everybody being here.
Passing out the
Oh, yeah, college checklist. Students can take them, parents can take them. Just pass them around.